Startups are the employer of 21st century. Startup ecosystem is revolutionizing the job market.
Once you start getting understanding, the power of an entrepreneur, in the sense you can solve things.
Entrepreneurship is celebrated nowadays, and it's into, even for the college student, it's like fashion trend to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
Startups are the employer of 21st century. What's your take on that? I believe the way startup ecosystem is revolutionizing the job market, it's tremendous. The way which we are evolving over 21st century, the job which were relevant down the line 20, 30 years are no more relevant. Just to understand these conversation in depth, we have Mr. Saurabh Singh with us. He is the CEO and co-founder at Desmania Innovation Lab. Thank you so much, Saurabh, for accepting the invitation and having an amazing interaction with our learners. I hope you enjoyed the conversation.
I enjoyed thoroughly, and thank you for having me here.
Thank you. So just to make our audience understand, request if you can share a little bit about your background, what do you do, and a little bit about the Desmania Innovation Lab.
Yeah, so I'm basically an engineer, and then I did my master's of design, and for almost 16 years we are developing different kinds of products for various industries. So in Desmania Innovation Labs, we are developing one of the cook tech products, right, where our focus is on automizing the recipes and the cooking. In India, cooking is very elaborate and it has a lot of nuances and so many things to it, and it changes as you move to country. Then we are trying to develop products which can automate those kind of cooking technology and the kinds of recipe we like to have. So that's what we are doing at this point of time. And my background has always been into engineering and product design, product development, mechanical design. And over the years now, we are also trying to get understanding on the different business side of it, how product goes in the market and what kind of different business problems and complexities that comes into. So yeah, so that's pretty much about me. That's what we're doing.
So for a very long span of your career, I guess most of your career is into the startup ecosystem.
Yeah.
Right. And here at Rishihood, we are trying to build up a startup ecosystem. We call ourselves as Education for Impact University. So just to understand, what are the major challenges you faced during the initial days of your career, which you want to share with the learners and just want to help them in understanding it better?
So startup, basically, so first of all, it's a very exciting area, exciting field. And once you start getting understanding, the power of an entrepreneur, in the sense that you can solve things. And I think my journey was also started like this only, that there was a problem. We're going through some issues like cooking, for example. A lot of people are facing a lot of issues in a good food, having a good food every day. And back then also, when we started doing something, we wanted to, we saw a problem, we thought that how can we solve it? And what happens in traditional business is that everything is preset, and it's like you're a cog in an entire system. So if you try to develop something new, something innovative, there are a lot of effort that goes into not just developing the product, but also launching it in the market, and the entire journey of the product from your factory to the end user is very important and need to be worked out properly. And in innovation, what happens? Many things are new. You are not aware of what kind of issues going to come, and there are a lot of you need to change things very quickly. You have to be very agile. So that was the problem with innovation. But once you get through it, you understand that what impact you are creating. And you have so many people, so many inspirational people who you look up to, and you see what changes they have caused and what kind of impact they have created in the society, and many new things in today's time, when there are so many IPOs are coming and there's so many the entrepreneurs are being celebrated.
Absolutely.
So I think now people have started understanding the power of it, and whatever good is happening, I feel that is because of this only. that now people are not afraid of creating new things. And thankfully now in India, ecosystem is available where if you have an idea, you can just quickly get into that system and create an the entire company out of it, and then you take the product out. And there's so many ways to do it now. Technology is also supporting it. So in our time, things were a little limited.
Yeah.
And we had to again incubation and startups were a very new thing at that time. We were still facing a lot of issues, to get the proper investors, and understanding of the whole investment process was very new to us. So yes, there were these kind of issues, but then also at that time people were receptive enough to see if there is any product which is creating any value. There was interest. There were things which were there, and now when you have Amazon platforms like Amazon, Flipkart, where you don't have to warehouse things, you don't have to, like, even manufacturing for that matter. You can have small manufacturing. You don't have to go for all the entire MOQ system where when we were developing the product, I remember we were making something and there was a requirement that it has to be the 2,000 pieces, minimum 2,000 to 5,000 pieces, and we didn't have that kind of a money. So if you approach to any manufacturer, you have to go with a minimum order quantity. Today that's not a problem. You can do 2 pieces also, 5 pieces also, and you can sell them also online. So it's very easy now, and I think this is a great thing which is happening. So entrepreneurship is something which will go to change the entire nation.
So I really appreciate your point, which you focused on that, and entrepreneurship is celebrated nowadays, and it's into, like, even for the college student, it's like a fashion trend to be an entrepreneur, right? It seems very fancy from outside, but I understand the grilling with which an entrepreneur go through. But I like to understand from the future of work perspective, the way future of work has been revolutionized by the startup ecosystem. I want to go into that part. So, like, whenever we conduct the placement processes, I've seen that it's quite difficult for a student to enter into a good role in a startup, let's say, for example, to a founder's office and stuff like that, comparison to an established firm. Because in an established firm, probably you're going to work, your jobs, roles and responsibility, everything is defined. But in a startup, like you said, it is a continuous evolving process. A lot of skills are demanding, and so it's quite challenging in that time. And I've seen that the startup, the people, whenever they visit the campuses for recruitment, their selection metrics is quite high in terms of expectations from the structured MNC firm, which is, I guess, a good thing also. But what's your take on that?
See, I think there's 2 things to it. Yes, of course, seeing corporates and the well-established companies, you have a clear-cut role, and there are certain expectations. There are very well-defined KRAs, KPIs, where you know what you need to do. But at the same time, you are stuck. Because you can't then go beyond your scope. And that's the biggest problem. And many people have found themselves, after working in corporates for quite some time, that restricts your growth. See, if you look at the entire education system and then the working and everything, is so predefined that you have a certain education, then you take a certain degree. Basis on that degree, you'll have some role in a corporate, and once you move in that ladder, then you are defined as a subject specific expert, right? So then you can't go beyond that. In startup, it's the other way around. It doesn't matter who are you, what kind of education you have, if you can perform, if you have a natural knack on solving the problem, you have a bent of mind, which is a little more innovative, creative, and you like to see things from a different perspective, then you are from IITs or IIMs or from any other local college, it doesn't matter. Then your skill, your ability to solve problem matters most. And therefore, what I feel is that sometimes people are inborn, you have inherent intelligence, you have a lot of understanding about things, but because of some reason you didn't get a right kind of education, probably financial reasons or some kind of exposure which was lacked, And if you get into the startup, that doesn't become any kind of deterrent.
Yeah.
Right. And I think business has always given you such examples where people like 10th pass or 12th pass, which doesn't have that kind of, traditional sort of education, but they were able to create a good, impactful businesses, and they are generating employment, even they are generating money for the country, and so on and so forth. So I think it has both the aspects. It depends on the person. Like, for example, there are some people who likes to have a safe safe and structure, like you get into government setup, or you like people who are interested in government government jobs, then corporates, because you have, everything is, there is no risk to it. Like the good part about is that your insurances, and then your health policies, and there are so many benefits which you get, and the salary packages are also good. So that's good part of it. But then if you want more for yourself, if you have that kind of a neck to to do something, then I think startup is where you can actually get a chance and a lot of opportunities, because you will do many things. You'll be working on many aspects, right from, sometimes you're even looking at the operations and inventories, and also at the same time you're looking at the marketing and maybe product development, also technology. So there are so many things which you can do. So it I think depends on person to person.
So now I would like to understand from industry academia perspective. For example, a startup ecosystem where manpower is limited, resources are limited, funding is also limited, let's say, and probably getting collaborated with a good institute can be a great help in getting a good start to the startup, because probably you will have access to more talent pool. Probably you'll start nurturing your, let's say, for example, you start connecting with the students in the first year, and probably they reach the final year. They also have a better understanding about your product, and the company also can sort of map their competency metrics. So, but I feel that still the industry academia collaboration is not up to a level where we can say that we both work hand in hand. There are a lot of things which needs to be worked on. But just if we are able to create an ecosystem where startups or let's say any organization and the educational institute, they go hand in hand, probably the attrition rate is something which we can solve to a large extent, because the reason why most of the people quit is because they don't like the culture, they don't like the profile, stuff like that. And that is because they have seen it from outside lens, and once they enter into the system, it's totally different. So can you see any model where probably industry academia come together, they work, and it's a win-win situation for both of them?
Absolutely. See, so there earlier what happened was there were 2-3 kinds. So if you look at the education system, engineering and MBA, and then you have medical and like law. So if you see the medical system, you always have a college and a hospital together, right? So even in the law, because it basically what it asks from a student is that how many cases in real life, and that's the learning. That's what you're learning also, and getting into the nuances of the cases and also seeing it practically. It was never there in colleges, like in engineering and MBA. In MBA, there were some kind of incubation centers where people are doing it, but it's all so not solving the problem. I think what you're saying is very important, because today, if I specifically talk about entrepreneurship and a business, for me, I personally feel that it's a performing arts.
Okay.
Right. Like, for example, if you're learning dance, you can't learn dance in a room by reading some text or books. You have to perform, and then you have to learn. So it has to happen hand in hand. And the mental model which we're talking about in MBA specifically, when we talk about mental model, you won't get it unless and until you have a practical experience. Most of the MBA colleges asks for either you have some kind of a business background, your family was in business. So there is a important criteria in good MBA colleges that look for it. That either you should have worked somewhere before coming to MBA, that you have done your graduation, you worked for a year or two, and then you're applying it, or you have a family business or something. So you have some understanding. So therefore now, when you're learning, you can relate to it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what I feel is that if you have these two things together, that people coming from a normal service class family but has an aspiration, wants to become an entrepreneur, wants to understand, and they need a lot of effort in developing their mental models. Coming from a traditional service family, middle class family, doing a business requires a tremendous amount of change in view, change in mental model, because the way you handle money, the way you handle debt, the way you look at how businesses run, how people are managed, it doesn't come naturally.
Absolutely, yeah.
So if this has to happen, then you need both the things together, where an industry and academia works together. Students who are coming in, they get to see in real life and then also learn in the college, and so they have a more holistic learning, and then they can decide for themselves whether they want to do it or not.
So what you want to say is the presence of industry in the campus is something which can help in creating that culture.
Yes.
That is so true.
We have most of the time, even today now, we are developing products, designing products, and with any corporate, when we are doing it, there are two departments which we have to constantly work with. One is marketing and one is R&D.
Okay.
So when we are developing a product, most of the time the requirement or the design brief comes from the marketing side, which is understanding their competition and what they want to achieve as a business objective. And then once the product start developing it, then the R&D team comes in, where R&D comes with the feasibility part of it, what can be done, costing and other stuff. And we have always seen a kind of a drift between these two departments, as if there is from marketing side they don't understand what R&D is saying, and from R&D people they feel that marketing guys are very impractical and Now, if imagine a student who's working, who's learning and who's also working with any industry, as a together. So they'll understand that as an engineer, for example, it's not they're just part of the entire business. It doesn't mean that if they're not solving the end objective, what is the business objective, then it has no use.
Absolutely.
Right. So these kind of understanding each other, the team, the marketing side and the industry, the engineering side, they also have get an understanding that as an engineer, if whatever they're doing is not converting into a business, then also it is of no use. Doesn't matter how good engineer you are or how innovative you are. And similarly for the marketing side also, to understand that from the engineering perspective, what are the challenges to be done when we create something. So it solves a lot of problem.
True. So when I visited your campus almost 2-3 years back, I was surprised to see that you guys are working in a lot of domain. You have you were also designing something in healthcare. Then you also had something, you were designing something in the auto industry also. Right. And your recent projects. Right. So just to understand, and probably the best part of your company is that you are able to incubate the idea very well, and probably your target is to deliver the output in the most efficient and the earliest possible manner. The educational institute also have incubation centers in their campuses, but when I was studying about that, it is most of these incubation centers are not able to deliver what is expected from them, let's say, right? But you being an individual identity and a very small company are able to have done it in a very amazing way. So what are the things, probably 2-3 things which you want to share with the educational institute, what they can pick up and how they can also establish a good incubation center?
I think it's the same thing which I was talking about. That we comes from the industry side. We comes from the business side, and then whatever incubation happens, whatever ideas that comes into to us, we first evaluate it from the practical aspect, and then what happens is that. Once you are working with different domains, you also have an understanding of there's a cross pollination that happens. You know certain things in automotive industry which is not happening in probably product industry.
Yeah.
And therefore you know that this is an area which can be tapped.
Okay.
So this technology already exists, this kind of product already exists, but in automotive side. But that comes in product side. Like for example, soundproofing or adhesiveness, or how two metals can be clubbed together or fused together. Now that is there in automotive side. Now comes to home appliances. For example, mixer grinder, how much noise it makes. There are certain technology in automotive can be used in mixer grinders which can make it more silent, more robust. So these things we know because share with experience and working with different domains. Now, once the new idea comes in, we have a lot natural neck of seeing it from the industry perspective whether it will work or not.
Okay.
So when it works, when we feel that it has a lot of potential, then because we comes from a product development side, we do a lot of quick prototyping, testing, lab protos. Rather getting into the entire product development, we do small prototypes for small features just to see whether it is working or not. So the process is very agile,
and that is the area I guess MVP वाले part पे पहुंचने से पहले most of the startup they died because they resist a lot in getting into that MVP wala part.
Right. Academia, what we have seen is that because either you have faculties who are still engaged with industries and they have a lot of ongoing experience on what is happening in industry, what kind of market is there, and there are some colleges who are also doing live projects. So there are projects which are coming to the professors and they are involving their students to work on it. So unless and until, academia, if doesn't understand what happens in practical world, whatever incubation you do or whatever ideas you get into, it's at one point of time it has to pass to that filter of real world. And if it doesn't passing through that, then it will see
it will be redundant. It will no use. So coming to that live project and internship part, I understand that it plays a very important role in the students' career part.
Right.
Most of the students I've seen that they resist a lot sales internship because it's very difficult for all of the students to get into some good fancy live projects, right? Or maybe internship opportunity. So what they usually get is maybe digital marketing, sales. That is the stuff they get into. What's your guidance to these students about getting into the sales domain? If let's say they are into MBA or BBA courses like that.
I think now there are a lot of emphasis is on data. In marketing also there are a lot of emphasis on what kind of stuff is happening, and you are using different kinds of technology to predict things, and there are huge number. Like I know people coming from huge FMCG corporates. They most of the time they're doing analysis, data analytics, and understanding what kind of things are working, and everything is recorded now. Even now, if you send a product from your location A to location B, your truck is also getting tracked.
Absolutely,
and the costing, the timings, what, like for example, in a particular truck, how many numbers of a product can go of certain size. Now, if I have to improve the efficiency, what size I have to create so that I can have more products coming in the same size of the truck. So there's so many kinds of data available now. It's just a matter of how well you use those data to create your insights and marketing insights and how you tap on it. So it's more on a technology side. And therefore now also in marketing, what you see is a lot of technical people are coming in and working on it. Traditionally, if you say about marketing and sales, as per that where the networking and talking to the retailers and distributors still there, but coming off this D2C market and which is D2C is heavily data. It's only data actually. How many people are coming, what kind of things their product they are searching, their interest areas, price point, cost point, quality, and there's so many stuff which is there on the D2C things. So that's the same thing which you apply, because traditionally in retail you might not get that kind of rich data. But on online platforms everything is recorded, it. So marketing, when we talk about now and even as we move forward, it has to be data driven. It will be because otherwise there is no way to crack it. And if you want to create something innovative, then you need different kinds of data. EV, for example, we are talking about electric vehicles. Electric vehicles for us, how I see it is, it's a product only. It's not an automobile anymore. And and therefore, coming from the styling, where the automotive design, when the automotive designs were always talked about the style and the personas and other stuff, EV is more on the utilitarian part of it, how utility wise it is good, what problem it is solving, and everything which is expected from any other product. Now, if you're designing a product like an EV, or if you want to pitch it to the market, for the marketing guys, it is important to understand the other products' data also, because there is a direct correlation now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, traditionally, how two-wheelers used to get sold, how the two-wheelers used to get marketed, it's not that anymore.
Yeah.
So if you're selling an EV, where it's an electric thing, you have a motor, you have a battery, which is there in your mixer grinder also, which is there in your different other products also, the same kind of motor and battery. It's fundamentally the same thing. And therefore, the expectation of EV should not be like what the expectation of any IC engine two-wheelers are. It has to be pitched differently. It has to be talked about differently. And, therefore, the marketing and sales teams, my thing will be redundant if they don't look at the other product, other personal product. It's a personal product now, two-wheelers. And the way this it's been getting designed, personal mobility and others, so it's a personal product. So the way your phones and other stuff works, eventually EV will also have that kind of similar kind of tone to it. So marketing guys has to depend on so many other aspects.
So if I pick up the framework which you defined in this, I would, let's say if I have to map it to the academia world, I'll call it continuous monitoring and evaluation or assessment, whatever you call it. Probably the reason why Indian educational institutes are not growing to the level which they are supposed to be is probably lack of continuous monitoring and assessment. Somewhere we need to do that in our curriculum also.
Right.
Is that relevant? We should have a dialogue with industry people, right? Because eventually they are the guys with whom learners are supposed to work in the journey, right? Along with that, it is the industry part also. I guess they should also understand that if the talent pool requirement is always there, it should also come from their end that yes, there is a requirement of talent, and always fresh talent is preferred, because they don't come with their biases and heuristics.
Right.
So they should also pick up like how they can collaborate and how they can work together.
Right.
Just to understand from your perspective, let's say for example, if a curriculum is designed in a way that we want our learners to be placed as someone working closely to you as an executive assistant, what are the top 3 or 4 skills which you will be assessing or judging in that particular candidate before having it in your team who will be working closely with you?
See, first thing which we want to see is that their ability to learn new things.
Okay.
Their agility towards towards acting on the problems. See, if you look at the education system from I think for quite some time now, that it was based on your what kind of jobs you have in the market. So you have civil engineering, you have mechanical engineering, and then off lately you have actuarial science, and then you have data analytics as a 4-year course, and then also you have the same courses as a 6 months module.
Yeah.
So my take on this is that, see, if the education has to be done as per the jobs available in the market, but now jobs requirements are changing
At a very fast
in a
rate,
very faster way. And similarly, you also have a way to do it in a very short module. You can deliver those courses in a shorter modules. So if you have students or you have a curriculum in a way where people are trying to solve something, as in they're learning, they're trying to get into a product domain, or they're trying to get into some kind of a business where they need to learn certain things. So you have six months courses of whatever is required. So you have finance, you have data analytics, you have marketing, you have branding, and so many, rather than having the entire 4-year or 2-year course focused on a certain subject, which you feel that after 2 years it's become obsolete because the new things are coming and the new requirements are there. It's better to to prepare a student in a way that learning anything for him, it should not be a challenge.
Not be a challenge, yeah.
And there are many things which are available on the net now. Even developing, like for us, creating a complex financial models. There are Excels which are available. You don't even have to make the entire thing. There are certain formulas which are already there. There are a lot of people who have already worked on it, and they've created certain modules which you just need to take it, and you have to apply your business sense to it and further develop it. So I think everything is there and doesn't require 4-year or 2-year times to learn. What you need to know is that this is a problem. What is the solution? You learn it quickly, apply it, move on to next stage. Then you see what is needed then, and then you learn that. And therefore, you don't have that kind of sense of, like spending so much of money, spending so much of time in learning something, and you realize it's getting obsolete. And so that psychologically also, you don't have that kind of, biasness on anything. That becomes your very natural way of functioning.
True.
You can keep learning things. So for us also, we are still at this stage, learning so many new things. When we are developing, when we were designing products, after designing so many products, like 1,000+ products, still every year we get something which is new to us, which we have to learn. And it's happening every year because things are changing. So the ideal characteristics which we want from any person who's working is that how open he is to new things, how fast he can learn things and can apply. Application is important. Right? Information is there. Information is always there, and it's now very accessible. You need to apply it. So if that kind of understanding a person has, and if an education system trained them in that kind of thought process, then I think it will solve the problem.
That's very interesting. If just to summarize that, probably you are majorly pointing out adaptability to learn new things, and another part is maybe the curiosity to learn about a different part.
Yes.
So adaptability is something which I guess is very, very important, because the way job market is shaping, if you're resisting to the new part, probably you will get obsolete very fast. There is no doubt on that.
There is no point where a marketing guy says that I can't do a technical stuff. And technical guy says I can't do the marketing stuff. It's same thing. It's one and the same thing. It's required. So you can open to both the things.
So in fact, I was having a conversation with one of my friend. He's a techie and he works with a very reputed firm. So I was asking how tech domain is different from the typical sales and marketing. He said, boss, there is no difference. What we also do is we sell the tech product to the tech clients, right? And the reason the company want to have a mix of tech and the sales part is because probably as a techie, I can understand fundamentals very well. But at the end, sales is something which I have to do, supposed to do, because that's where from the company gets the revenue. That's a very interesting insight.
Because, see, the company will run only once you have sales. The sales will happen because you have a unique offering. The delivery of the main communication of how you explain your unique offering requires a technical understanding. Right? And I have not seen any CEO or marketing expert who doesn't good in the technical side of his business. And they can take lectures on the technical aspects, at least for their product, their offering, and it's vice versa. So see, it's business is one entity, single entity. There are a lot of things which are happening, and now because of an entrepreneur, like after coming of an AI, there was these kind of there were requirement of like copywriting and how, if you want to create a website, what kind of content or what kind of communication we need to do. Today, with the help of an AI, anybody, if you just write 4 or 5 keywords and your basic thought which you want to communicate, it will get a proper text, and you can place it on website, on blog, or anywhere else. So the point is that you don't have to be expert in everything, but if you know what you're doing, if you know what you want, you can get things done, and therefore the understanding of each and every aspect is required. It doesn't matter. It doesn't say that you have to do it yourself. but you should know what is happening. And for an entrepreneur, for a businessman, it is very important.
It is very, very important. In fact, a prompt is something which you need to know a lot in
Yeah.
if you want to get your stuff done through ChatGPT and stuff like
yes,
that.
yes.
Yeah. So that was a very insightful conversation. Thank you so much for giving your time. And we'll be looking ahead to learn more about innovation and entrepreneurship in detail in our upcoming parallel curriculum session. Thank you so much, Saurabh,
Thank
for
you.
your
Thank you for
time.
having
Thank
me.
you so
Thank you.
much.